Fantasy armor episodes are easily some of my favorites to make on this channel. Probably tied with superhero and villain episodes, and SCP episodes, and demon episodes, and... Okay, well, I guess I just kind of like doing all the kinds of episodes I do on here. But the point is, I really like doing fantasy armor episodes. It's been a little while since I did one, so let's get right into famous video game characters as fantasy armors, shall we? Let's go! Hit like, if you want. Subscribe, if you feel like. But either way, enjoy the show.
Hey Vasilia, what's the story behind this hammer? This thing is so heavy I can barely lift it, let alone swing it. Who'd you make it for?
Oh, Heath, you could swing quite easily and you know this. But you are correct in assumption that there is intriguing tale behind this hammer and its unusual mass. It is one of many an ancestor of mine crafted for a group of warriors referred to as Spartans, though they were not actually of Greek descent.
Huh. Were they actually as tough as Spartans supposedly were?
Would likely say tougher. You see, these warriors were originally a group of children kidnapped from their homes, under the orders of a woman called Baroness Halsey, to be made into powerful army of knights for a long since destroyed kingdom. The children were trained until they were 14 years old, then they were magically enhanced to be far stronger and faster than a normal human. Though many children did not survive this enchantment.
I'm gonna assume your ancestor didn't know about that when they made armor for these people. A Kuznet wouldn't make armor for someone who is killing kids, right?
Very accurate assumption, Heath. She was indeed unaware and ceased her involvement upon discovering the truth, though at that point had already made dozens of armors, all of which could only be worn by these warriors, or someone of similarly enhanced strength. They were called by the Baroness Halsey to be Mjolnir armor. As you can see, she was taking titles from many different regions of the world, though was well-suited name considering the armor's formidable weight.
Huh. So besides being really heavy-duty, anything else special about this armor?
Indeed. There was one specific armor for the Master Knight who led the Spartans that Baroness Halsey had enchanted with a duplicate of her consciousness so that she could instruct the Spartan in the field and warn him of danger approaching from all sides.
Wow, that's impressive. Is that something you can do? Could you put a version of you into my armor?
Sadly, no. Not only is this specific spell long lost to my family, but was lost on purpose. You see, duplicating one's consciousness does not bring the heart and soul of the original being. Not that the Baroness had the most pure heart to begin with. Eventually, this duplicate turned on those she was meant to assist and helped bring about the end of this knighthood and the kingdom.
Oh, well that's a shame. I would have liked to meet a group of knights like that.
You mean you would like to try fighting group of knights like this, yes?
Alright, yeah, you got me there. Alright, I've heard enough about your ancestors. Tell me about another of your armors. What's your favorite one you've made lately?
Ah, Heath, you are very quickly learning the right questions to ask me. I just recently made new armor for one of my favorite clients. She is warrior called Chun-Li. She is Chinese warrior who frankly does not need armor to defeat her foes, but obviously is that much more capable with armors I provide. You see, her greatest asset in combat is her legs. She has thighs that could crush boulders, so when she came to me, she was looking for a way to make her upper body as formidable as her lower.
Doesn't sound like something you'd struggle with.
Was not indeed, though at the time I first met her, I had just gotten grip on enchanting armors and wanted to push myself. I had women tell me about herself to get better understanding of what to do with her armor, and I was told by her that she was well practiced in ancient Chinese meditative art of Qi-Gong, used to cultivate and balance one's Qi. There is a system of magic that works very well for those who have mastered Qi-Gong, so I imbued her suit with this type of enchantment. This made her able to summon her Qi into balls of energy and fire them at her foes, giving her ranged attacks that was almost as formidable as her glorious legs.
You, really got a thing for this chick's legs, huh?
Trust me, if you met her you would understand. I would not fault you for staring, even in my presence. These legs make Spartan hammer seem like soup spoon in comparison.
Alright, I'll take your word for it. So, what did she need the armor for anyway? Was she a knight or something too?
No, she was hunting down a group called the Shadow Lords, who she believed had something to do with the death of her father, and she needed all assistance she could get. Which worked out well for me. See, after gaining armor from me, she sought out Shadow Lords, and along the way teamed up with others who sought to bring them down. She'd been so pleased with the enchanted armor I made her that she eventually recommended me to many of her allies, many of whom desired similar such armors for themselves, so they could fight as formidably as she could.
Well, that's pretty cool. Were they all, Qi-Gong specialists?
No, many of these warriors came from different regions of worlds and required specialized armors. But for most, I was able to make something just right to aid them in their specific type of combat and training. Still though, while I made impressive works for whole group, Chun-Li's was my favorite I'd crafted. So, to be fair, with those legs she would have looked good in dirty Hessian sick, so that may somewhat influence why I was so pleased with how she appeared and fought in my armor.
Alright, I got another one for you. What's the coolest creature you've ever been brought to make armor from?
Oh, I could not choose one, there are so many. Though, the first one to come to mind is a beast called a Bowserous Turtle Fiend. This is a heavily armored monster that ravages the mushroom hills of Italy and is widely regarded as very difficult to slay. They are also drawn to castles and are notorious for trying to kill all within a castle grounds to then make the castle like a nest that they did not have to build themselves.
Someone brought you this thing all the way from Italy? They must have been really wanting a Kuznet original.
That they did. I had met young Italian warrior when he was on trip to these lands, and he'd always been obsessed with someday slaying a Bowserus, as he'd been named after one himself for their incredible might. He was called Bowser Douglas, and after seeing the armors I'd made, he swore he'd slay a Bowserus, then bring it across the seas to my shop, so I could craft it into a mighty armor for him to show all of his power and achievement.
Wow, that's a pretty big compliment to you. How long did it take him to achieve that?
He returned here after 4.5 years, and in that time he'd gone from average-sized man to nearly as burly and muscular as yourself. Though not nearly as handsome as yourself.
I've already gotten armor from you, Kuznet. You trying to flatter me into going for another one?
No, simply flattering you for the sake of it. Anyhow, I made the armor one of the best Kuznet has ever made. I ensured he would not regret bringing the hide of this beast so far. I even made it with flaming broadsword enchanted with Everflame to burn for so long as he wielded it. I used the shell for much of the armor, as that is the sturdiest part of these creatures, but recolored it to ensure it more so resembled the full beast and not simply its back. After my completion of this armor, he was obviously quite pleased, and I learned that he hoped to return home once more in the armor and use it to show his worthiness to a princess of his homelands in an attempt to win her over.
Well, killing one of those things has got to be a pretty impressive achievement to a princess, I guess, since those dragons tend to attack castles. Any idea if it worked out?
I'm not sure, though the way he spoke about it sounded as though the princess was previously engaged to other men. Would be curious how it turned out, but regardless, Warrior will likely have no shortage of attention coming his way, after slaying a Bowserus, and of course, while wearing a Kuznet original armor.
So, how often do you make armors for yourself, huh? I mean, I know you dig that Shin God armor you got, but that can't be the only one you've made just for you, right?
Well, funny you should ask, as I just completed personal project for myself from a beast's hide brought to me by our mutual friend, Tyron. Has he told you anything about the cursed Thespian kingdom?
I think I heard him telling Kayla about it once. There was like some kind of crazy evil sorcerer king who was trapping kids' souls in dragons or something messed up like that.
This is accurate enough summary, yes. Well, as Tyron so often does after he's dealt with a situation and the beasts were all slain, he brought me many of their hides to craft into armor. He requested one for himself, but allowed me to do what I pleased with all the others. I was particularly drawn to one he called the Roxillian Zborator. You are aware of what a Zborator is by chance?
Don't think so. It kinda sounds like some kind of weird massage chair or something.
Is not piece of furniture that massages you, though I was unaware that your world had such things, and I would very much like to try sometime. Anyhow, no, Zborator is type of wolf dragon, and when I saw hide of such creature, I was compelled to make myself wolf-like armor from it. This dragon was one of a kind, not a species, and while it was evil creation of a dark king, I still felt its appearance was worthy of living on in some form, so I made armor to appear like the dragon itself. I gave suit slight simple enchantment to be lighter than it should have been, so I'd have as much mobility as possible. But beyond that, it has no particularly special abilities. Is formidable enough armor to be sure, seeing as how I made it, but is mostly for aesthetic purposes. And I must say, I look quite fantastic in this armor if I do say so myself.
I believe it, but like you said about Chun-Li, you'd look good in a dirty Hessian sack, so the armor could really look like whatever and you'd pull it off.
You flatter me, Heath, but seeing as how you are right, I must insist on showing you how I appear in this armor. Come with me.
Sounds good to me. Oh, I think someone's coming in.
I apologize, but I must attend to customer. Hello and welcome. Oh, this is not good.
Am I seeing things, or is that a gopher in a tuxedo with a gun?
That ending may or may not be setting up the Multiverse Tales episode in Community Redraw that comes out a week from today, entitled Gopher with a Ray Gun. Also, anyone who is disappointed that I didn't do Roxanne Wolf in the FNAF Mech Armors episode part 3, well, there we go, I've done her as a fantasy armor now. Anyway, I'm open to doing another round of this, so give me suggestions for what other video game characters you'd like to see as fantasy armors. And of course, if you're new to the channel and you want more episodes like this, I've got a whole playlist of fantasy armor episodes that I'll link, and I've done lots of other things with famous video game characters. But besides that, that's all for today, except of course for ending this video on some kind of positive or inspiring note, and the thought I want to leave people with today is another quote from the great Jim Rohn. And that's that indecision is the thief of opportunity. If you don't know what to do, just make a decision, and even if it's the wrong one, you'll at least learn something from it. I hope that's inspiring to someone out there. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I love you all, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Monday. Nope, just kidding, on Friday. Today's Monday. See you there. Goodbye.